I'm back. Took a quick break. Back with another part of this in-depth episode of Wrestle Talk with the Franchise. As you know, I just did the Money in the Bank recap show. This one is basically covering all the stuff that's happening in the world of wrestling and the WWE. Briefly talk about AEW for a quick second. This one, notes, yes, I do have some, but I kind of just want to go with the flow of things. As you know, we ended the last episode. I was talking about SummerSlam, talking about the Bloodline, and that's kind of where I want to go into. I want to kind of get into the Bloodline storyline right now. As you know, it's the biggest and arguably the greatest story to ever be told in all of professional wrestling. This storyline is going to be, in my humbled opinion, I think this storyline is going to be studied. Like, if you want to become a professional wrestler, if you want to get into the business of sports entertainment and you want to be able to tell great story, this story right here is like the blueprint of storytelling in professional wrestling. There's no other, like, the depths that they're going to with this, the depths that all the participants are going to in this, especially who I have stated in the past is the MVP, the most valuable person in this story is none other than the wise man, Paul Heyman. The man literally got so, like, I don't think we understand the depths that Paul Heyman gets himself into when he's in this character, when he's in the wise man mode. We've seen it before. We've seen it when Roman Reigns was gone for some time. We've seen Paul Heyman hair slowly start to get gray. And then when Roman showed back up, hair was dark, cleaned up, just life. He was like, life was brought back into him. You've seen that in his last appearance. You slowly started to see the stress that Paul Heyman was going through. Paul Heyman not sleeping for days, so his eyes was bloodshot red and the bags under his eyes, and grew the scruff look on his face and just looked distraught. Tie was not even properly tied, just looked so distressed and so like broken and stressed out and not himself because of Solo Sikoa. Remember when the word got out that Roman Reigns went to Triple H and Vince McMahon and said, apparently said, let's not have Cody win at WrestleMania 39. Let's let him lose, and we continue to build Cody up, but at the same time, we're building Jey Uso. We're building Solo Sikoa. We're bringing their stock value up. Now, their stocks are not gonna. Would we see Jey Uso where he is right now? Would we see Solo Sikoa where he is right now? Probably not. So I think that was one of the best things that they did was say, hold off, give it a year so we can further tell this story. So we can now make Jey Uso main event Jey Uso. We can make Solo Sikoa into this person that we see now. Paul Heyman sitting there 2 Fridays ago at the acknowledgement of Solo Sikoa as the head of the table, as the tribal chief. You've seen it at Madison Square Garden, the Mecca. And we've seen what happened. We've seen Jacob Fatu, the enforcer, acknowledge. You've seen all of them. They all acknowledged him. And then when it came to Paul Heyman said, I will not acknowledge you as my tribal chief. And we've seen what happened. We've seen the attack. We've seen the brutality that was done. And I kind of, when I watched it, I knew when Tungaloa was carrying that bag, I knew it was in that bag. I knew the Ulafala was in that bag. I knew it because you knew it was something. And it's the character in Solo is great. Someone posted on Twitter and they showed the conversation, the segment with Jimmy and Jey Uso. And Jimmy telling Jey, I didn't want you to end up being like him, like Roman, becoming corrupt, becoming this person who is obsessed with power. All along, Solo Sikoa sitting in the wings, consuming this power, consuming this mindset of having this power. And on Friday night, we got one of, if not the best segment package for Solo Sikoa ever. And the focus of this story, of that segment, yes, it was him. You can say it was him planning out his next attack, saying I'm going after Cody Rhodes, saying that he will acknowledge me. It wasn't that. It was the Ulafala. It was the symbol of tribal chief. It was the symbol that we all know was bestowed upon Roman Reigns from his late father, Sikoa. Solo Sikoa said Roman Reigns lost and disgraced our family. Now I have to take on the helm of tribal chief. I have to restore the greatness in our family by taking out Cody Rhodes, by doing something that Roman Reigns was not able to do, which is beat Cody Rhodes. Bring that title back to the family. Now, this is what I can see happening. Because if you remember correctly, if we go back in time, remember this photo right here? Remember this shot right here of Solo Sikoa with the Ulufala after Roman attacked Jey Uso, attacked Jimmy Uso, and Solo picked up the Ulufala? And Roman looked at him and the crowd was chanting for Solo Sikoa because they wanted Solo Sikoa to be like he's next. Be careful what you wish for, because we see it now. We see it now. Fast forward, as Paul Heyman was talking to Solo, trying to figure out what was going on with Solo, what did Solo keep saying? He got word from the tribal chief. And I kept saying this, and I keep saying this, and I will keep on saying this. The tribal chief that he is referring to is the final boss. It is The Rock. I believe we may see would I want The Rock to appear at SummerSlam? No. If he does, I would want him to show up to declare that he is indeed the one, or leading up to SummerSlam. Because that's the one thing that The Rock is good for doing. He's good for appearing on SmackDown randomly. So let's see. Let's see if Rock shows up randomly on a SmackDown, and then it is bestowed that he is the one who's giving the final word to Solo Sikoa. And let's say he turns around and says, I am the high chief of this family. I oversee and make the call. You can get personal. This is family. One of the best stories is told when it's personal. They can go to the level of the elders. Well, Sikoa, unfortunately, is no longer here. So The Rock can say, with Sikoa being gone, there's now a seat for an elder to sit in, to give out the orders of what needs to happen next. I took that seat, but I am also the high chief. And we get that. So now it's really personal. Now we're really getting personal here. Then that's when we get Cody, Solo, SummerSlam. The Rock is there with Solo, with Tamatonga, with Tungaloa, with Jacob Fatu. And it looks like Cody can't do it. And then we get the return. The true head of the table, the true tribal chief, God mode himself, Roman Reigns. And he's with Jimmy Uso. He's with the wise man, Paul Heyman. And we start the road to the Bloodline War Games. How do you tell this if Jey Uso is not involved, though? How can you build a War Games without Jey Uso? How? How do you tell this story? Because in my mind, you have Roman, the Usos, the honorary Us, Sami Zayn, would we see Kevin Owens? You know, because Kevin Owens has been, and they've noted, Kevin Owens has been feuding with the Bloodline for 4 years. Could we see Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn team up with the Bloodline to take them down? But then that's not Bloodline Civil War. You need other members of the Bloodline. Now, I do know that there is, I think it's it's another one of the brothers that supposedly is supposed to be making his return or making his debut. So they are cooking. They are cooking. It is going on. This is something that, as I said, is going to be spoken about. I think, in my opinion, I think what Cody needs to do is Cody needs to backtrack that statement that he made out a while ago, where he said in the beginning of his entrance, wrestling has more than one royal family. This is the royal family. The Anoa'i family is truly wrestling royalty right there. It is, from the top to the bottom. And they keep coming. That's the crazy thing about it. This family just keeps popping out kids, and these kids keep entering in the wrestling business because it is in their blood. It is in their blood. They can try to do football or something else, but it all circles back to wrestling. It does. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. I mean, this new Bloodline, they're cooking. The only thing that I will say I do not like is I don't like how sometimes they're presented as being weak. During SummerSlam, I mean, Jacob Fatu showed he is a straight savage. He took that DDT, that signature Randy Orton DDT, and got right up and was staring Randy Orton in the face. And we all know Randy Orton went to try to go down and do the RKO, and he looked up, and Jacob was saying right there. Jacob Fatu has the potential. I'm not going to say what everybody else has been saying, that, Jacob Fatu is the next champion. He is a future champion indeed. He's in this system. He has to get acclimated. He's going to be a star. He is. But when you look at Jacob and you look at Solo, who's going to be the one? Who's going to be the true star? Seeing both of them, it's like they both have Umaga spirit in them. It looks more like Jacob has more of it in him, because he also has he kind of has that look with the braids, and just the aggression that he has is definitely Umaga like. And I know, with the wise man being taken out of this Bloodline, Umaga's manager, Estrada, he, I believe, tweeted something about how, if they need a mouthpiece, I'm available. It will be interesting to see if he ever did really show up and was that mouthpiece. There was a photo I think they showed of him recently. He still looks like he's in good condition. I mean, but he's a mouthpiece, so that's that. Let's dive into the Wyatts. Let's talk about the Wyatt sick. The past 2 weeks, we have been getting these vignettes, these packages, shall we say, of Uncle Howdy and Taylor Rotunda. I'm not going to refer to it as Bo Dallas. I'm going to call him Taylor, because these are not Bo Dallas talking to Uncle Howdy. This is Uncle Howdy talking to Taylor Rotunda. I wish the first package would have been in the beginning of these QR codes, right? I think that's what you should have done, just because I think that it needed to be understood why this was happening. I love the fact that they're having the conversation in the Firefly Funhouse, because it is paying homage. The door, I think, is going to be pivotal in probably the next video. If we do get another video installment, I think that door is going to be a pivotal moment, because it looks so as if the last video that we had, it looks though as if Uncle Howdy and Bo and Taylor merged together. Now it could be it's the consistent merging, but then I think if they did bring in another video package, I think then we will see more of what's happening. Then I can see, let's see what happens if we get other packages. Do we get Nikki Cross talking to Sister Abigail, like we had Uncle Howdy talking to Taylor Rotunda? Are we going to get Rambling Rabbit talking to Eric Rowan? That will be an interesting one. That will be interesting as much as Uncle Howdy talking to Taylor. Are we going to get Husky the Pig talking to Joe Gacy? Are we going to get Mercy the Buzzer talking to Dexter Loomis? Where are we going with this? You know, as I said, I don't want to see any vignettes or promos in front of the live audience, just because I think that for as long as probably as for Taylor. But if you did do it, you can do it where you have Taylor Rotunda out there talking, and he's talking as Taylor, and he's talking about how he misses Bray, and he does all this and the third, and then you have the video on the Tron, and you have Uncle Howdy saying, there you are, and it's that back and forth, and you can see like Taylor like sitting there like, no, like I can't, like it's this internal battle that he's having. You could kind of do that, you know, but are we, like I said, are we going to see that with the others? You know, are we going to see that with the other members of the Wyatt Sick? I know that there was talk of how people were upset. I do believe it was, if I remember correctly, listening to Don Tony and Kevin Castle talking about it. They were talking about how people were upset. I know Bully Ray and Mark Henry talked about it on the Masters class, I believe it was, where they talked about protecting the business and not doing what they do, like the whole kayfabe thing. Listen, we all know how this is, you know. But I'm interested. I'm looking forward to seeing more of this, more storytelling, more of like, where is this going to go? You know, I know that they were talking about families a lot. Are we going to get a situation where they're attacking not only Chad Gable, but now they're possibly going after like a Jey Uso, or going after other people because they mentioned, you know, Taylor mentioned certain lines in that last promo, which indicated maybe He's talking about Jey Uso, how Jey Uso turned his back on his family and all this, and all the weird little Easter eggs that was put out there. So that's another thing I'm looking forward to seeing in the foreseeable future with this. Are they going to get in the ring? Maybe. But it'll be interesting to see how you're going to have them in a match. Let's talk about Behind the Curtain. The long-awaited WWE documentary on YouTube showcasing everything that happened leading up to WrestleMania 40. Now, when we originally seen the trailer for this, it was during WrestleMania weekend, and they said that it was supposed to be dropping that Wednesday. Obviously, it didn't. There's rumblings going around that the reason why they did not put this out there was because The Rock wanted to protect his image. After watching this documentary, I watched it twice. I watched it the day it premiered, and then I watched it, I think, the next day. You guys know I have not a love-hate relationship with The Rock, but it's one of those things where when The Rock shows up, I get excited, and then when he leaves, it's kind of like, damn, like I wish he was still here type of thing. But for The Rock to turn around and state that he looked at what happened with this whole situation and said, let's continue to tell his story. Let's put me and Roman on hold. Let Cody finish his story. Because he's seen and heard the reaction of the people. And the one thing that The Rock is consistently stating is he is doing what is best for the people. He hears what the people are saying. So he goes off of that. If this was someone else by the name of Hulk Hogan, I'm just going to say it. If it was Hulk Hogan, because if I'm correct, I want to make sure that I wasn't bugging when I seen this. If I'm correct, I believe, yes, there is a situation that has occurred. Many people may not know about this. I have to get more information about this, but I'm going to just say it right now because we're talking about Hulk Hogan, and this is why I cannot stand Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan canceled contract with brand ambassador after he finds out she's black. This is what I read on Twitter. This is on the Art of Dialogue. It's a it's a page on Twitter. Hulk Hogan has been accused of firing an ambassador due to their ethnicity. Essence Janine, an influencer, took to TikTok to reveal that Hogan paid her to be an ambassador for his Real American beer, but fired her the next day after discovering she is black. Another feather on the cap on why I cannot stand Hulk Hogan. If that was Hogan in this situation, Hogan would have said, I'm getting myself over. I need to be at the main event for this year's WrestleMania. It's the big one. It's 40. This is where the difference between Rock and Hogan and Rock and other people come into play. Because The Rock, once you've seen it, I get where people are talking about protecting his image, because you're seeing more of The Rock talking to Nick Khan's sister, who I didn't know was an executive producer for Young Rock, talking about the past, the family and all this, and then inserting and trying to figure out how does this fit? How does this package fit for this story? Triple H said that this is a story that we have this story, but then we have another story, a bigger story that has been cooking for some time. And they showed the footage of Royal Rumble in Philly with Rock and Roman after Roman won the Royal Rumble. And they said, we've been working on this storyline for some time. And I don't want to say it was at that Royal Rumble. I think, and as I said before, and we can go back, I've always said that this version of Roman Reigns is leading up to a showdown with The Rock, where we have the head of the table, the tribal chief versus the people's chief, however you want to deem it. But it is for something bigger than a title. It is for a title, not an actual physical heavyweight like a WWE title, but it's for the title of head of the table, the title of high chief, the title of tribal chief. Who gets to don the Ulufala? That is what that story is built for. But Rock seen and heard the people. Let's give the people, because at the end of the day, it's about the people. Let's give the people what they want. So that's what they did. And now they're going to insert and go into a different gear and tell a different story. Cody Rhodes was on The Pivot, a podcast that I am absolutely a big fan of. And he expressed how his relationship with The Rock was cool at first, but then it came this way, and it was kind of, it's very telling when you hear other stories told. But it was a great documentary, about an hour long. And I loved how it was put, the reason it's done now. Because see, now what it did, and I said this, I posted on Threads, that this documentary just makes me miss Roman Reigns even more. It makes me want Roman Reigns more. And it was the timing of it. They knew if we do it here, at this particular moment, especially after the events that happened with Solo, this is going to make fans want Roman Reigns even more, because now we're seeing Roman Reigns again. We are like, man, we missed that aura. We just miss Roman. Bring him back. And that's what we got with that documentary. It's all about timing. Because now you realize why they kept it for a year. Then you see, okay, this is a story that they're going to finish telling. Cody finished his story. Now there's another story. Can we possibly see a situation where we do get The Rock versus Cody Rhodes? We do know that that was told. In my opinion, I think if we did get it, it probably will be done maybe at Crown Jewel. Maybe. But we'll just have to wait and see. As I said earlier, if The Rock does show up and aligns himself with Solo, Sikoa, and them, I can see that happening. Is it a possibility that Rock faces Cody at like a Crown Jewel and Rock beats Cody and wins that title? Oh, that would be kind of tough. That'd be kind of tough. I know Rock said that he wants to put his people's title on the line, I'm not a big fan of that. You know, I've said that before. But before I wrap up this quick episode, not a quick episode, but this final part of Wrestle Talk for this week, let's dive into some AEW talk for a minute, because there is some things that have been going on that I want to discuss that have bothered me some. I will say that I will talk about AEW, the product. This will be the last time I actually talk about Tony Khan, because as you know, there was no episode last week, so I didn't really have the chance to talk about this right here, which is the photo of Tony Khan at Fox Business talking about AEW, and the ticket, the little ticker, lower third that you see right there, states that, you know, over 500 million. And when I seen this, I flipped my shit. If you follow the page, you do remember when I basically did go off on this. And I was just like, you cannot, there's no way. WWE numbers can possibly get to that point. AEW's numbers could not get 500 million people plus attended over 110 live events. AEW only has, on average, they have 3 events. One is taped during Dynamite, which is obviously Collision. It used to be Rampage and Dynamite before Collision came about. Then Collision showed up. So technically speaking, AEW has 2 live events and then 1 pre-taped event that just happens to be during Dynamite, at the end of Dynamite, or the night of Dynamite. Then it was the people who drink the Kool-Aid of Tony Khan who went as far as to say M in Roman numerical numbers, M means 1,000, and that's what it was. I'm not going to further go on to the rant that I had about that because this is long past, but let's just say this is a business that we're talking about. He was on a business show. Business does not mess up numbers. Now, I'm looking at my laptop right here. And if you happen to look at a laptop, you happen to look at your phone. The keyboard, the M and the K are very close to one another. It could have been a typo. If they would have said it was a typo, I would have completely been understanding. I would have been like, okay, it was a typo, they fucked up. But for people to actually sit here and literally say that, no, they really meant 1,000, but the M means 1,000 in a different world, this is really what we're doing. This is why when Tony Khan made that comment about how he makes wrestling for the crazy fans. Yeah, those same fans that sit there and try to justify that. Not justify by saying it was a typo, justify it by saying the M actually means 1,000 when you're talking business. Now, AEW is not a publicly traded company, so they can say whatever they want. They can say, listen, we do all this stuff, and they don't have to answer to nobody. Nobody. Tony Khan even gets his information not from his accounting. He doesn't get it from the people that works for him. No, he gets his numbers and everything because he gets it from Cage Match. He gets it from Dave Meltzer because he, growing up, was in the message boards. You have an owner of a company who gets his numbers from Dave Meltzer, not from his own people, but from a website. Not from its own people. The minute I understood and realized that, I literally told myself, I am no longer talking about Tony Khan. I will talk about AEW. I will not talk about Tony Khan because just look at what he's doing. Look at what he's doing. Now, let's talk about one other, not negative. We could say it's negative. Mercedes Moné. Mercedes Moné was recently on Hot 97. She did an interview in which she basically did do some, if you want to call it trash talking to WWE, saying all the stuff she said. It did I was kind of confused when I was watching bits and pieces of it, because this is the same Mercedes Moné at the time, Sasha Banks, who was on Twitter, that was basically praising Vince McMahon. I know that's a name that people don't like to say anymore, but was praising Vince McMahon all the time. I love you, Vince. Thanks for this, that, and the third. Always praising Vince McMahon. Wasn't really saying shit about Triple H. But Paul Levesque is the reason why you got to your elevated point, was NXT. That's exactly why. She has creative control over Mercedes Moné. Ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at the female Hulk Hogan in every aspect, from the way she deals with fans to the way, if she doesn't get her way, she throws a hissy fit. That's all she does. And yes, I'm saying this from a lens of, okay, now she's out of WWE, she's in another company, I'm seeing how this is going. But I also started to notice it even later in time. I thought back to when she was on the Broken Skull sessions, and she had her go back and watch that and just listen to how she was talking. She was talking as if she was entitled to these things. That she was just, yes, she is beyond talented in the ring. But sometimes your actual personality, your attitude, is what causes you to lose out on opportunities, to lose out on things. It's very interesting, very funny. She throws a hissy fit, leaves WWE, takes Naomi with her. Naomi leaves. Naomi goes to TNA, does her thing. Where's Naomi? Back in WWE. I don't see a place or a time where Mercedes comes back to WWE now. She talked about how they weren't trying to let her do X, Y, and Z with the Mandalorian and all this other stuff, and how Tony Khan lets her do whatever, and he flies her out directly, privately, all this stuff. Yeah. She can stay over there. Let's see what's going to happen. I'm excited to see Brent Baker back because I wanted to see Brent Baker and her, because I want to see how she actually is with someone of the caliber. And when I mean caliber, I mean the stature that Brent Baker has, DMD has. So I'm very interested in that. What I'm also interested in is what the hell is happening with MJF. Clearly, as you all know, MJF showed his true colors this past week on Dynamite, and he made his point very crystal clear on Collision. All I have to say about this MJF situation is what the hell is happening with the Undisputed Kingdom? What happened with that story? It makes you think of Adam Cole and the severity of Adam Cole's injury. But Adam Cole was able to take a bump. He took a bump when MJF returned. What exactly is going on with this story? Where are you going? Is this story done? MJF is back. MJF turned. MJF is doing all this. What is the end game? The biggest issue that AEW has is, yes, it's the same shit as WWE when it comes to storytelling, where there's scenic routes, right? And everybody can go into their own little directions, right? But it all takes you back to this point. AEW don't even have a fucking scenic route. They just am like, we don't know where we're going. They don't. You had the Owen Hart Classic. Well, you have the Owen Hart Classic, and you had it to where one side of the bracket already advanced to the finals. We already know what was going to happen there. The other one didn't start. We did not know who the finalist was going to be on the other side of the bracket because Jeff Jarrett still had a match that he had to do this past Wednesday, and we found out it was none other than Hangman, which most people would probably assume that was going to happen. So who do we have in the finals? We have Hangman Page versus Bryan Danielson, and Jeff Jarrett is the enforcer of the match because Jeff Jarrett shows up backstage talking to Tony Khan, and that doofus is just looking. The owner of the company is sitting there as Jeff Jarrett is yelling. And Christopher Daniels, who is, I guess, interim EVP, jumps in and says, me and Tony Khan was just talking about that, and we think that, yes, you should be the enforcer. Yet Tony Khan sat there and said absolutely nothing. Just looked like a fucking doofus. If you are going to be involved in anything, he did this before. He did this with Roderick Strong. When Roderick Strong walked in the back and yelled at Tony Khan, and Tony Khan basically said, okay, yeah, you deserve this. You'll get a title shot against Swerve. Just like that. Just like that. I say this all the time. I want to see AEW succeed. I do. I really, truly do. But there's so much bullshit that goes on there that I'm just, I can't. I seriously can't. But as I said, that will be the last time that I actually mention Tony Khan. I will talk about the product. I will talk about the show. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with this. I do see this is tough because the winner of the Owen Hart on both sides gets to get a title shot at All In Wembley. I can see them doing Hangman so we can get Hangman versus Swerve and Hangman beats Swerve for the AEW title. I can see them doing it with Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson. And Bryan Danielson wins the AEW world title and he goes on this tour as the AEW champion until he loses and then he rides off to the sunset. For the women, I have Mariah May. I really think Mariah May is going to win the Women's Owen Hart Cup and face Toni Storm and dethrone Toni Storm at All In. And as I said in the Money in the Bank post show, there's that little vignette that happened at the beginning of Collision that some people are thinking is Ricochet. As I said, if you've seen the video, the guy looks like he has hair. I don't see it being Ricochet. If it is, so be it. Ricochet made that decision. He has to now lay in that and deal with whatever ramifications comes with that. But that's it for this episode. Let me know in the comments below what y'all thought, your ideas, your opinion on all the subject matters that I touched on, from the Bloodline to the Wyatt sick to behind the curtain to the AEW stuff. Let me know in the comments. I will be back next week with another installment of Wrestle Talk with the franchise. Make sure that you follow us on Instagram. If you are new to this channel, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you're updated when more content will be dropping. Also, RCW_ podcast on Instagram and on Threads as well. Ace is RCW_Ace on Instagram. Till next week, I am out. Later.